gentlemen. How are you? Yes, don't adjust your television sets. This is a Star Trek individual with a Star Wars panel. I'm moderating I'm wearing my BB-8 shirt here, so we know that Star Wars is my first love. I was 8 years old, 1977, at the movie theater when Star Wars, the first movie, came out, and I was fell in love immediately with sci-fi because of Star Wars, which started my lifelong career as a big nerd, a sci-fi nerd. And so I'm really happy that I'm part of the Star Wars panel. A universe which, for the longest time, I was complaining, like, where are the Asian people in Star Wars? What is up with that? I remember I complained about this to Jeremy Bulloch. So Jeremy Bulloch, who played Boba Fett, we were at a convention before, and I was like, where are all the Asian people? And he was like, I have a photo for you. And I'm like, oh, okay. The next day he shows up with this photo, and in the photo, it's Boba Fett, and in the background, there's an Asian guy extra, background actor, with like a bandana around his head. He goes, there he is, there's an Asian. Is that all right? And I'm like, I guess that's okay. Because I kept thinking they had so many chances, like with all these Jedi, somebody, I mean, come on, everything is ripped off Asian culture, right? So it's, it's samurai, come on now, let's have it's Asian. Where's that Asian Jedi? And I thought for sure, the character that Samuel Jackson played was going to be, it should have been Jet Li, man. I'm like, what's going on here? I mean, you're going to have Jet Li as a Jedi, but no, it's may the Force be with you, MF, right? So that's kind of how that went. Okay, all right, that's enough of me prognosticating here. Let's bring them out one at a time. First of all, we have Mr. Roy Thomas, who brought Star Wars to Marvel Comics. Mr. Roy Thomas, can you grace us with your presence, sir? Thank you for joining us, sir. If you could have a seat at this long, nice leather couch. Sure, that'd be great. We'll bring them one at a time. All right, now let's bring in Mr. Matt Hoffman, the event coordinator for the local 501st and Rebel Legion. Oh my God, Matt Hoffman, you've packed the audience with all of your people right here. It's just like, get your own fan zone here. Perfect. Okay, next up we have Mr. Joe Corroney, Star Wars artist extraordinaire. How are you, buddy? You're looking good. Okay, join us on the couch. And also the esteemed Star Wars, Mr. Timothy Zahn. Did you like my use of esteemed? Okay, good. You deserve esteemed, Yeah, all right. And last but not, okay, you guys have to move, unless Greg Grunberg sits on my lap, you guys have to make a little bit of room. Okay, thank you.
That's what they want to see.
Actually, he will be sitting. Okay. Last but not least, the man who knows all of J.J. Abrams' deepest, darkest secrets and skeletons, and hence he's in every single J.J. Abrams project from now until he dies. Greg Grunberg!
What's up?
Hey, dude. You get your own chair here.
Oh my God, my own throne.
Yeah, you get your throne. I was gonna have you sit on my lap, but I was like, it's okay.
This is actually, I have a toilet that looks just like this at home.
Do you really?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's Restoration Hardware toilet. It's the most comfortable.
Restoration Hardware. I love that.
Hi guys.
Look at it.
Hey. Hi guys. So what's up? This is a lot more comfortable than an X-Wing.
Do you like it?
I'll tell you right now.
It's surreal because Greg was actually the moderator at the big Star Trek convention in England, Destination Star Trek in Birmingham. So I come out to do my, Grunberg's there, he's like, hey, I'm like, whoa, that's kind of weird.
Exactly, and I'm like, I will get you back one day. No one does these better than you, though.
Oh, thank you, dude.
We're talking about how that, for me, I'm both. I grew up on Star Wars. Star Wars to me was just everything. And so when I got to do Star Trek or be the moderator, it was very intimidating because that is a world that you have to know every detail or the hello. It's just not.
There's a sweet spot on that microphone. If you don't keep it exactly there,
exactly there.
Yes, sir.
But it's not true. It's like they're just Just
Oh yeah. Oh.
okay. Well, I've got some Star Wars secrets. You know, in the next movie, and then he flies from the. Isn't that crazy?
And then tell us who dies again?
This one too. Wow, interesting.
Oh no!
Okay, guys, be careful with the mics. They're kind of they're temperamental. All right. So we have microphones set up for questions too, don't we? Carl, is that right? We have a question, or do we have a roving question person? But that's the microphone.
Can I just take a second?
Yeah, man.
Just because, and I'm sorry to hog this, but I have to. I just want to thank everybody in the 501st for everything that you guys do for charities. That's what I'm all about, charity, and it's no surprise, but every time I go to a city and I'm doing something for charity or I'm speaking, epilepsy is my big cause. You know, my oldest son has epilepsy, so I speak out about it. I'm the national spokesperson, and you guys always have my back, and it's just amazing. It really is. It's like, you know, you're giving it your time, you're changing lives, and especially with something as important as Star Wars to so many of us. It's like, it's a way of really connecting and helping people. So thank you, 501st, for everything you do.
Excellent. I also want to point out the fact that somebody's about to have a birthday here.
Who would that be?
I don't know. His initials are G and G.
Exactly.
So it's actually July the 11th, is that right?
July 11th.
But since we're close enough, let's just go ahead and sing a quick happy birthday.
Oh my God, wait a
ready?
minute.
Get your voices ready.
Let me get my photo. I have to prove to my wife
that this actually happened. Wait.
Yes, that I'm not having an affair with a Wookiee. Hold on. All right, ready?
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Greg Grunberg. Happy birthday to you.
Yeah!
Greg,
Thank you, guys.
I love how, like, you're getting everyone singing. No one was singing here until you put the
Right, exactly.
Like, oh my God! That was the best. All right, so listen, I know you guys are dying to ask questions of these esteemed gentlemen on the stage here. So if, you know, don't be shy. There's a microphone right here. You can come on down and ask your question, and nobody's getting up. You guys have to have questions. Come on now. We got one brave soul.
Come on.
Congratulations, sir. Go ahead.
Hi Greg, how are you?
I'm doing well, how are you?
Good. Are you going to be reprising your role in episode 8 and 9?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you, what?
Are you going to be reprising your role in Star Wars in episode 8 and 9?
I can't hear him. Can you hear him? I can't hear you. That's so weird. Next question. Dude, we were just talking about how secretive everything has to be. I mean, I did the first movie. I got lucky enough that I was in episode 7, and I was doing promotion for Heroes, and I was asked, "Hey, tell us about the movie," whatever. And I was like, "Oh, I'm so excited for my best friend in the world, JJ, since we were 5." I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm so excited for him." And all of a sudden, the press was like, "He's so excited for his friend," like as if that was something. And then I got a call from Lucasfilm going, "Will you shut up?" So I literally can't say anything about it. Nothing, zero. Sorry.
You have to understand that the Lucasfilm non-disclosure agreements involve mention of your stronger kidney. So,
I quit him in 1977. I can say anything I damn want.
Exactly.
Oh, I love
Yeah, I'm
that.
gonna be an episode. I'll be in any episode.
That's so funny.
Greg, I do want you to tell JJ thank you for finally including an Asian man in the Star Wars films, because Donnie Yen finally, somebody, seriously, I mean, all those films, the Jedi, the Force is basically the concept of chi, and so there's a lot of concepts that are kind of ripped off from Asian culture, and yet you don't see Asian faces at all in that universe.
I would like to see your Asian face in that universe.
That'd be nice.
Wouldn't you guys like to see it? Seriously, I mean, how great.
I don't know if you've seen this on YouTube. There's actually there's a YouTube video of me having a lightsaber fight with Darth Maul, the actor who plays Darth Maul.
It's really?
Yes, in England we have this crazy,
I was there.
Well, you were not.
I believe I was there.
Not that England. The England in Newcastle convention.
The other England.
The other England.
Yes.
The other England. You know, Greg.
Not the new one.
Right.
The old England.
Right. New England. Old England. Okay.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Question.
This is for Greg. Hi, Greg.
Hey.
So I've been a big fan of yours. Watched you on Heroes, an amazing show. I have to ask you. I know, like when JJ first asked you to do Star Wars, you were like, "Oh my God." What was it like for you though when you first walked on the set, seeing the X-wings and seeing the? I mean,
No
what was
big
that
deal.
like? Yeah, right.
Are you kidding me? So I got to London. I didn't know what I was doing. JJ's like, I've got something really cool for you. I think it'll be great. And all of the actors were having dinner in a Chinese restaurant, and I walked in.
Chinese restaurant?
Chinese restaurant. Yeah. That's some sort of a nod to China. And I walked in, and they were like, "Hey, there's Snap Wexley." That was the first that I heard about it. And I'm like, I don't know what that means, but I love the sound of it. That sounds cool. And then they said, here's an orange jumpsuit. And I hadn't had a DUI, so I was like, I think I know why I'm wearing this. And so it was really cool. You have to understand, I mean, this was everything for me. This is the first movie that I saw as a kid where it changed everything for me. This was, up until this point, I hadn't really left a movie and talked about the characters and talked about the world and just felt so immersed in something so different. And it got me and it locked me, and as it did, I think, a lot of people. So yeah, it was incredible. So when I walked, so the first time I got to the set, everything was so secretive, and they had, there were drones flying over, and everybody, when we were working, we had to wear black cloaks from our trailers to the set because they didn't want to let anybody know who was playing what and what was happening. It was really secretive. And so anyway, I walk on, and I'm not working that day, but I'm visiting JJ, and I walk on to the Millennium Falcon, and I was just, and by the way, no one could have cell phones, no one could have anything, and of course, I walked on, but I'm JJ's friend, right? So screw him, I'm gonna bring my cell phone, I do whatever the hell I want. So I'm walking, and I pull out my cell phone, and I'm just like, and I literally just took pictures of everything, and I was so excited. Cut to a convention, later, and there were these guys that were building the Millennium. They had a reproduction of the Millennium Falcon, and they said, "Will you sit in it? We want to take a picture of you." I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So I sit in it, and then I look around, and they were like, "Yeah, the new one. We'd love to know what the new one's like." And I was like, I mean, I'm not supposed to do. And I said, I'm just going to hold up a picture real quick, just for about 2 seconds. And I held it up for 2. There's 5 guys around me, right? And in 2 seconds, they ignored me. Like, they were like, oh my God, there was the energy box. That wasn't there before. I mean, all these little details. It was crazy. So I geek out about that stuff just as much as anybody else. Sorry for the long answer, but
It's fine.
I'm passionate about it, yeah.
Did they let you take your jumpsuit too for your?
No, I mean, the second they're like, cut, that's a wrap on Greg. And there's literally, it's almost like a security officer standing there going, strip down everything. And we need to do a cavity search to make sure you don't have a lightsaber stuck somewhere that you're not supposed to. I mean, it's crazy. And I'm the king of stealing stuff. I mean, I'll steal stuff because I want to hand it down to my kids, I want to remember. But no, that and also Star Trek. On Trek, I wanted my ring. I wanted my ring from, the Federation or whatever, and no, the second. And then I called JJ and I'm like, dude, can you just tell them that I want my ring, send my ring? And even JJ was like, that is not a fight that I want to start. That's serious, that really happened. Crazy.
Thank you, Greg.
Yeah, thank you.
Greg, I want to thank you for giving me that image of a lightsaber smuggled in an anal cavity. I will never, ever not see that again. Thank you so much for that.
You got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we appreciate it. But we do share that in common because on stage before you guys came out, I talked about the first sci-fi I ever saw was 1977 Star Wars at the theater. I was 8, you were 10, so you're, I think, 1966 baby, right?
Yes,
so
right,
I'm
yeah.
68, so really that changed my life just like it changed yours. Because it was the first movie where we both went, oh my God, I mean...
Where are you from? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in multiple places. Born in California, moved to Indiana. My dad went to Purdue. From Indiana to Bermuda.
Nice!
Bermuda to Memphis, Tennessee, back to California for college at UCLA.
Because
So
where did you see the movie?
What's that? I actually saw the movie. That would have been in Memphis. So where did you see it at?
I saw it at a theater called the Avco Theater in Westwood. And when I got to the set, everything was secretive, like I said, and on the call sheet it didn't say Star Wars Episode 7 or anything, it said Avco. And I got chills. I was like, oh my God, this is like, because they just want, JJ said, let's use that name because that's where we first saw the movie together.
I like that.
Yeah, it was
that's
crazy.
very cool.
Yeah.
So you know what sign you are in the Chinese astrology? Year of the horse.
I am the horse. I am the horse.
All horses have the strongest constitution of all the animals in the zodiac. Meaning, when you were young in grade school, when other kids were getting colds, you were not catching the cold. But when you do get sick, it's almost like you're on the deathbed. Like you're sick for like.
Oh my God! Way to bring the room down.
Is that you?
And the horses have the biggest lightsaber. I don't know if you know that.
Oh, you went
absolutely
there.
true.
You went there.
I
Next
did.
one. Hello.
He did go there.
Oh, you can go there with your lightsaber.
All right, so
Great.
my question is actually for Mr. Timothy Zahn. So authors fascinate me, especially those that do consecutive series and come up with those ideals. I have curiosity, do you come up with those ideals? Is that your own world that you create when you're creating something in a canon universe? Or do you get plot holes or plot items that you have to fill in and use your own words and situations that you have to bring the world to life?
What I've done is not novelizations where you get the script and you kind of adapt it to the novel. I've done original spin-offs, and in those, typically Lucasfilm will say, okay, what do you want to do? I will work out an outline, and they will say either yes or yes with these changes, or try again. So it's not a matter, they've never given me, okay, these are the 5 characters and 3 plot points you have to put into your book. It's my original sort of thing, melding the movie characters, planets, technology, etc., with my own characters and storyline.
Oh, thank you.
And by the way, I was 25 when I saw it, so.
There you go. So what happens when you write an original, something really, really cool, and then you see it show up? Or elements thereof, something that you've created.
It's extremely cool, as you all know, that Lucasfilm doesn't pay any more money for that, but I get some really cool bragging rights, and it was exciting to have Coruscant, the name I'd given the Imperial planet, show up in the prequels, and it's beyond amazing to have seen Thrawn in season 3 of Star Wars Rebels. And you have to remember, the people running Lucasfilm now grew up with these books. So these books are part of their Star Wars experience, and they are going to be treating the characters, any storylines, with the respect and understanding that they deserve. So I've been very pleased at what the Rebels crowd has done. I'm looking forward to season 4 and seeing what else they come up with next.
Yeah, me too.
I'm just curious, Matt, how old were you when 1977 Star Wars came out?
I saw it in 1979 on the re-release.
Oh.
So I was 5.
5, okay.
So,
All right.
What a baby.
Yeah. Joe, how old were you at the time?
I was 4 years old when I saw it in '77. It was my first movie that I remember seeing.
And you remembered it at 4, the actual memories are still
Oh yeah,
there.
yeah. Oh, one of my earliest memories is seeing that movie and seeing Darth Vader come through the blockade runner. That gave me nightmares, but that stuck with me. And literally, I went home, and we didn't have, Star Wars was so new, and the comics came out that summer, so I would go home and I'd relive the movie by drawing from the Marvel comics, and later on, the next year, the toys had been, his comics. And then we had the toys from Kenner, so that's how I kind of relived Star Wars as a youth, because we didn't have like VHS or, so that's how, Star Wars is why I became an artist to begin with.
Yeah. And Roy, when you saw it,
I was a mere child of 36. I saw Star Wars for the first time twice. The first time I saw it was at George Lucas's house, or in his editing room in
That is the coolest thing ever!
Actually, but it was a rough cut. In February of '77, 2 or 3 months before it came out, it didn't have special effects. Darth Vader was, there was no James Earl Jones yet. It was just David Prowse with a heavy Scottish accent speaking through a helmet. I could not understand a single word he said. There were just, when the people fired ray guns, there were just arrows drawn on the screen. And my favorite part was when Luke, Leia, and Han and Chewbacca escaped the Death Star about 2/3 way through the film. they're in the ship firing at the TIE fighters coming, but the TIE fighters hadn't been done yet. So you'd see Luke firing, and here's some World War II black and white dogfoot fighting of Zero or Messerschmitt going down, and then back to Han, and then here's another thing going down. And so I said, this is either going to be a very good or a very bad movie. When I first saw it, then of course in May was at Grumman, the Chinese theater they had sort of put it together by then.
I'm just imagining watching Vader with a Scottish accent, like Scotty from Star Trek. I can't give you any more power, Emperor.
You should say something about, Leia says something to Star Wars, to Darth Vader, about, how evil he is, in that first scene.
Yeah.
And they had, and she says,
It's all muffled. Yeah. That's hilarious. Isn't it crazy? He saw it at Lucas'
I can't even imagine. And then like George Lucas going, all right, wait. Okay, so there's gonna be this and there's gonna be that. I mean, that's insane. I thought I saw episode 7 in the final mixing stage, and JJ's sitting here and we're all waiting, and then Mr. Williams walks in the room and sits down, and he walks in and JJ goes, hey, Greg, this is John. And John goes, Snap Wexley. And I was like, oh my God. Yeah, and I hadn't even seen it yet. And then when Harrison's character, I don't want to spoil anything for anybody. When Harrison's character died, I literally looked at JJ and I was like, oh my God, you're not fucking around. This is crazy. And everybody, I don't even know who was there. Like there were so many executives and people there. But that story completely beats my, I thought I had a good story. Wow.
Oh my God. That's awesome. Just very quickly, guys. When I got cast as Ensign Kim on Voyager, they said, get your butt over to Paramount Studios. You need to do a wardrobe fitting with wardrobe. I was at Disney filming an ABC show called All American Girl, and so I had to rush over. So I get over there, and the security guard is the same guy that's been there for all my auditions, and I had bet him that I wasn't going to get the role. And I drove up, he goes, you got it, didn't you? I go, yeah. You owe me a case of beer? I go, I do. I said, I'm late, where do I park? He goes, anywhere in that parking lot. So I'm rushing my car around and everything, I'm trying to find a spot. I come around a corner, this dude in my peripheral vision, in a suit, walks between two cars in front of my car. I slam on the brakes. I'm within 6 inches of taking this guy out. And my heart's beating like that. This guy's heart's beating. We lock eyes. It's Harrison Ford. And I'm going, I almost killed Han Solo.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Oh no. And I kept thinking, he could have very easily, and he was wearing a suit because he was on his way to the premiere of Tom Clancy's novel turned into a film, Clear and Present Danger, okay? So, the trade papers, Daily Variety, Hollywood Reporter, the next day show Harrison Ford, they're there at the screening with all the Paramount execs and everything, and that easily could have, that headline could have read, newbie, novice, stupid idiot Star Trek actor kills Han Solo. And that would have just ruined it. So I would have killed Solo before JJ would have. Yes. Okay. Next question.
Firstly, I just want to thank you all for being here. This is our family's first con, and we found it to be very family friendly, and you all very approachable, so thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry I cursed about 10 seconds ago.
You just, I heard that, Greg. Yeah. You got kids, usually
I know.
you reel that in, right?
Yeah, we'll fix it in post.
Okay.
My first movie experience was for Star Wars as well, so very much can connect with you on that. And then my son was too chicken to come up and ask, but Mr. Zahn, what is it like for Thrawn to be canon again, and then in general with this back and forth between canon and not canon?
It is beyond awesome. It is wonderful. It is exciting. The only downside was that we found out Thrawn was going to be in Rebels 8 months before it was announced, and we had to tap dance madly around questions for 8 months because non-disclosure agreement, stronger kidney, remember. But no, it is. The way I see what they've done with Star Wars is, okay, we're gonna do new movies, new TV shows, everybody get off the stage. All right, everybody now from the legends, all the storylines, everything off stage, and we're going to decide which characters and storylines we can bring back as they fit into our slowly developing storyline. So the stories aren't gone, they're just off camera, off to the side, sort of like Robin Hood or King Arthur. We still write movies and books and stories about them, even though they they're legendary, they probably didn't exist or such. So the way I see what's happened with Thrawn now is, rather than my other books being like a legend of Robin Hood, they are now like a legend of Davy Crockett. In other words, they may not be accurate stories, but they're about someone who is real. So it's been an exciting ride. I'm hoping to get to do more. I'm looking forward to seeing more of Thrawn in season 4. He's already shown up in a couple of the games now, so momentum is with him.
Good, and then how about Disney owning part of Star Wars versus not when it didn't used to be part of Disney?
I think from my perspective, I've been working on Star Wars art for about 20 years with Lucasfilm. So when Disney came in and the transition happened a few years back, it didn't really change a whole lot for me. I kept getting more artwork for Star Wars, but for me, what I've seen with Disney taking it over, Disney's really the only studio that can really handle something as big as Star Wars. So if Star Wars is going to prosper into the future, and with George retiring, and Lucasfilm, as big as it is still a smaller studio, for something like to go on, for Star Wars to go on without George, you need someone like Disney that can nurture it into the future and really take care of it. So I think it's been a really positive thing that Disney has taken it over, and they've really, the sky's the limit now with Star Wars. We're gonna have Star Wars for the next, 50, 100 years probably. So I think it's a really great thing that what Disney has done so far with it.
Great, thank you for that. I just want to acknowledge the two young ladies that just walked in trying to find a seat. They first walked up to the front row and they're like, oh my God, we can't see Greg's face. Okay, let's go to this side. So they went to the middle. Now they're finally there they are. Say, wave at us. Hey, got a good seat? Are you guys good? Okay, can you see everything now? Okay, thank you. Next.
I actually have a third Thrawn question, surprisingly. Were there any legal loopholes to jump through when you were working on Thrawn, or were there a period where you were working on it and then it became canon again and you're like, well, now I got to work around that?
There are no legal issues because everything you write in Star Wars is immediately and automatically owned by Lucasfilm, so there's no, this is my character, but Lucasfilm is using it, anything like that. It's all owned by them, which is why it wasn't until 8 months before the announcement that I found out Thrawn was in Rebels, whereas it had been in production for several months already. Animated series have a long lead time. Back in November of 15, when I was first told about Thrawn, that was when I was contracted to do the new book of his rise through the Imperial ranks. As I wrote that, I was getting scripts, or getting to read some of the scripts of Episode 3. So there wasn't so much for me working around it as, okay, this is something Thrawn or Governor Pryce is going to be doing in the series. Since I'm writing a prequel, I can set that up. I can set up, okay, this is Thrawn doing some physical combat stuff because he'll use it later on. This is Pryce doing the same thing. Thrawn does not, the first scene with Colonel Yularen, for example, in Rebels, doesn't feel like their first meeting. Okay, if they've known each other, how did they meet? I can go put that in the book as well. So it's not a matter of changing things so much as adapting to what they were already doing. So that if I do any more books, we will have to know what they're doing in the future, so we'll have the same kind of thing happening. We'll see what Lucasfilm wants me to do, if anything, in the future.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Next question, please.
I wonder who my question is for. Mr. Zahn, just two quick questions about Grand Admiral Thrawn. First, what do you think of Lars Mikkelsen's voice work for the character on Rebels? I'm a huge fan personally.
I think they did a great job in the voice casting. He has just enough, it's not an accent so much, but it's a way of delivery that makes it feel a little like English is not his first language. It isn't, and it also isn't for Thrawn. So it's a perfect bit of voice casting. I really enjoyed his work on that.
That's the way it sounds in my head when I read the book. And the other thing, how much input did you have on the characterization of Thrawn back in the TIE Fighter PC game from the 90s? Because I know he's in that.
Approximately 0.
Okay.
Again, everything you write is owned by Lucasfilm, so I typically would not know if they're doing Thrawn or Mara Jade in a game until somebody played it and let me know. So I was not normally even told in advance of what was happening. So the surprise is everything with Lucasfilm.
Thank you very much.
For that. Timothy, I have a question. So the name Thrawn, did it come about because it rhymes with your last name, Zahn?
I
Just
get
curious.
that occasionally,
Yeah.
no.
Okay.
The origin of the name is early in the character's development. I thought he might have some psychological problems being the only non-human in the upper ranks of the fleet. I lost that idea early on. Okay, we're not going to go with that direction. But I kept the name, which is Scottish for twisted.
I love that. Okay.
I like the name, and it no longer related to the character, but I kept it.
Yeah.
Thrawn's full last name? The
Thrawn's full name, Mithra Nuro Odo? Yes.
Wow. Twisted.
Okay. Garrett, can I ask a question since
Sir.
you would usually stand up there and ask a question?
Do I usually stand up there?
No, since I usually would stand
Oh,
up there
yeah,
and
go
ask a
ahead,
question.
yes.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, you can.
I wanted to know if anybody had a good Carrie Fisher story.
A good Carrie Fisher story.
Oh man, I have a pretty good one.
Can I'll just precede with mine's very short. I was at a hotel that was the actor hotel for Saskatoon Comic Expo, and at 3 in the morning, the fire alarm goes off. We're like, what the heck? Everybody had to get out of the hotel. Next day, I find out from the promoters, it was Carrie. She lit up a cigarette in her suite, and she's puffing away. So, thanks to Carrie, everyone woke up that day. All right, yours, go ahead.
That was one of the people that I was just absolutely enamored with. I couldn't. I was so kind of shocked and excited to be working with her. And so one of the first things that I shot was I was off camera. Carrie is there, and she's kind of berating Snap Wexley. So she's like, "Come on, Snap, pay attention." Blah blah blah. This whole thing, and then you cut to me, and I kind of roll my eyes and follow her, right? And I think they cut it out, and I know they cut it out. It's on the DVD, I think. Anyway, so the camera's here, right? So I'm right next to the map box, and she's doing her side. And she does it, and I'm just trying to get my stuff right. And I'm so excited to be working with her. And I met her, but it was just very briefly. She says her lines, and then she's supposed to just cross right to me. She says her line, and then she crosses right at me, and she wraps her arms around me and grabs my butt. Okay, and I was like, oh, I'm standing there, and I'm off camera because the camera's right here. And JJ walks right up to me and whispers in my ear, "Welcome to Star Wars." So that's like literally, and then I got to be, as close as you can, working. We hung out, and her daughter Billy, and that's one of the moments that I'll never forget, is being able to spend quality time with someone just so full of energy and full of life, and such a pro, and she was just the best. I'm so lucky that I was able to have that time with her.
Oh my God! After she grabbed your butt, you should have used the immortal words of George Takei. Oh my!
Oh
That would have been good. That's an awesome story, man. Yes, young man, your question, please.
Yes. So I like how we've got a wide variety of people here. We've got Greg sort of representing, the people who have the face of Star Wars, like, Mark Hamill, people who have been the actors. We've got 501st Legion here, who sort of represents, how the fans have been able to create stuff. I really like, we've got content creators here who are responsible for making stuff. So like, we've got the movies, but then we've got like a bunch of really good scenes that have originated from books and comics. Like one of my favorite ones for Darth Vader is where he's surrounded by an army of rebels, and they say, "You're surrounded," and he says, "I'm surrounded by dead men. What are you talking about?" And he takes them off. So mostly for the content creators, I just wanted to know, how does it feel like to be able to contribute your own sort of mini iconic moments to Star Wars that don't make it into movies and characters?
I probably did the first spin-off in a way, because right after the 6 issues of that Marvel adapted of Star Wars, that 2 or 3 of which came out before the movie debuted in '77 and 3 after. So right after that, I had to get together with George and get him to okay a new plot. I had no idea what to do, so I was told, you can't use Darth Vader because we don't know what we're going to do with him, and there's obviously going to be a second movie that can I do something with Luke and Leia? Well, no romance between Luke and Leia, no nothing, this and that. So finally I said, okay, what can I do? So, there's this thing called the Clone Wars that's mentioned in the script. Can I do something with the Clone Wars? George says, not George, but his man says, no, I said, we may want to do something with that someday. It took them a while, but they finally did. And then finally I said, look, the main thing I like about Star Wars anyway is Han Solo and Chewbacca. They remind me of the old space opera characters I used to like, Northwest Smith and stuff in pulp magazines and comics. So I said, I want to do a story with sort of a magnificent seven samurai story with Han Solo and Chewbacca and some other characters. So that's sort of what I did. I became the first, except that I also became the first person to offend George, because I made up one of the 6 or 7 characters was a tall guy who looked like sort of a Bugs Bunny in a spacesuit, Jackson the Rabbit, who was one of the 7. And the word came down, George did not like the rabbit. He was never to appear again in the comic book. They tried to use it once later, and the word came down, no, we never means never. So I just left the book after those 4 issues. I said, I have fun, but I like writing Conan the Barbarian in the comics because the creator of Conan died 4 years before I was born. The estate just cashes the checks, you know, and I can do whatever I wanted to. And I said, I'm very happy doing Conan, and goodbye Star Wars. I'm real happy to have been a part of it. But the thing one thing I want to say about George, you were talking before about what's real and canon, not canon. That time when I had that conference with George about the new strip, he said something to me that I think was really great. He had it in command from the very beginning. He said, how's it going to be now? You know, because you're going to have novels coming out. They were talking about a strip. You have the comic book, and there bound to be a little inconsistencies, be a little problems and that. It says, you know, in the movies. And George just said, my feeling is this: the movies are gospel. Everything else is gossip. I think that sort of summed it all up, and they've kept that at it for 40 years now. So obviously, they knew from the beginning what they were going to do.
Thank you. All right, next question, please.
I'm not the only person who has this book in this line. Thank you for writing this. But my question is for Mr. Thomas. I'm a comic book illustrator too, and I was curious if you had explored any of the digital illustration tools that have been made available and getting better and better in the last 10 years, and how much that has affected your workflow.
Well,
so it's not really a Star Wars
work on the comics much anymore, so it really hasn't affects the people that really do them. I still sort of ghostwrite the Spider-Man newspaper strip, but it's just still drawn the regular way, so I don't have, you know, too much to do with that. I'm afraid you'd have to ask somebody that was more involved in the comics now.
So Roy writes the comics. I draw the comics. So that would be maybe more for me, but which actually is a good question, because in the last few years I've been doing almost exclusively fully digital artwork, working in Photoshop, and I've always used Photoshop in my Star Wars artwork to color and render and do effects and stuff, but for many, many years I would hand draw everything, you know, but the way that technology is now, and in the entertainment industry especially, with deadlines and the publishing industry, the comic book industry, incredibly fast-paced deadlines. I mean, you get a script from a writer, and then you have like 3 to 4 weeks to draw the thing, and then it has to get promoted, it has to get solicited so that fans can order it in the stores and bookstores. So the turnaround for artwork in the publishing industry or the entertainment industry is so incredibly fast now. So you almost have to rely on digital technology, you know, the Wacom tablets, the Cintiq tablet, so which I have one of those. And most of my Star Wars art in the last few years have been it's just been entirely digital, where I'm drawing and painting, and I'm able to expedite the artwork at a much faster rate, which makes my Disney and Lucasfilm bosses very happy.
But you won't have any originals to sell.
Right. That's the downside, but my output is so much higher that once I finish that job, I can move on to the next job almost immediately. So there are ways, you know, to do, sometimes Lucasfilm or Disney will allow me to do like a one-off canvas print of the full color piece, which I'll then hand embellish and add like flourishes, like, you know, like extra paint and details, and then Disney will sell that in a gallery or something and then we split the profits off that. But that's the only thing. But there are ways to get around not having an actual original.
Thank you, appreciate that. The lone Star Trek TNG cosplay has approached the question microphone.
This is for anyone on the stage with a relevant answer. As it's been mentioned before, there's myriad sources: comics, books, video games. What would be the story you would like to most see in the future with film? In terms of maybe an origin story like Obi-Wan, or Knights of the Old Republic, something like that?
That's a good question, guys.
I'd like to see Jackson the Green Rabbit and Chewbacca the Wookiee have an adventure on their own. That's about it for me.
I would love to see a Snap Wexley movie. I'm just throwing that out there. I mean, guys, I have such a small role, and I'm so lucky to be in part of this at all, and so lucky to be on stage with you guys. So, yeah, let's expand Snap Wexley. Can we, please?
We should pitch something to Marvel.
Yeah.
A Snap Wexley miniseries.
Well, in the Poe Dameron series, there's Snap Wexley does have a life, and it's got a mom and a love interest and all that. So I'm pretty excited about that. But yeah, let's do a film.
Joe?
One of my favorite eras is the classic trilogy, so that's what I mean, obviously I love all the Star Wars, but man, I'm hoping the rumors for an Obi-Wan spinoff would be, I can't say one way or the other, but that would be a great area to explore those lost years of Obi-Wan's exile on Tatooine. Obi-Wan's one of my favorite characters, right up there with Darth Vader and Boba Fett, so that would be pretty cool.
Matt?
After Rogue One, I really want to see more of those guys. I want to see a prequel for those guys. And as an X-Wing customer, I have to go with an X-Wing movie also.
Okay.
For sure. More orange.
Smart
the
man.
better. Yeah, the more orange, the better.
Yes. Timothy?
I would like to see some movie that has a good family relationship in it. Not a Skywalker, every family relationship in Star Wars seems to be broken or damaged or dysfunctional in some way. Granted, many of those were manipulated to be that way, but I would like to see something along the lines of a Star Wars version of The Incredibles. Okay, a family that is squabbling, but when push comes to shove, they come together and kick major butt. I think we're missing that in Star Wars. I'd like to see something along that line.
Okay.
I'd love to see the Partridge Family in space. I think that would be good. Some music.
On that family note, I'm going to have you tell JJ my pitch. I want to be Obi-Wan's long-lost adopted son, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obi-Wan! My lightsaber.
That is fantastic.
Can you tell him that?
Yes,
Thank you.
tell him.
More Asians in Star Wars.
I love it.
All right.
That's great.
Obi-Wan. Okay, next question.
Mine's for Mr. Zahn. What's the favorite thing you've written so far for the Star Wars universe?
Oh, I think of my books as one corner of the big Star Wars tapestry. It's hard to pick out any given one. Usually the one I'm most excited about is either the one that's in general whatever I'm working on, or the one that's just come out. So I would have to say Thrawn at this point. But if I get contracted for something else, that'll probably become my new favorite. It always happens.
Thank you.
Thank you. We want to try to get all these questions in, so let's kind of do a speed round. So come on up and let's try to answer these quickly. Let's go.
I have 2 Disney questions. Again, do you see a difference in the writing before when it was just Lucasfilms versus, under the Disney umbrella? Because obviously, if you look at Guardians of the Galaxy, they really don't use bad words. And they're never gory, not that Star Wars was. But for you guys that have done new and older, do you see any difference when it got under Disney?
I'm not a writer, but I'll answer this really quick. I think Lucasfilm hasn't really changed too much with, I work with the story group to certain extents in the publishing area, and a lot of those people were still there before Disney came in. So Lucasfilm is really run by fans. I mean, these guys grew up with this stuff. They're the guys that George hired when he was there, and they're the ones still sort of maintaining the integrity of the property. So to me, there really hasn't been a tonal shift. I don't know, with you.
Yeah, I felt the same way. It's pretty much
it was
another filter to go through, and that's about it.
Yeah.
And did JJ have any involvement in the Star Wars world that's going to be at Hollywood Studios? Because when they did the Pandora world, the creators and stuff were really involved. Do you know if he had any involvement with that?
I do know.
Fair enough.
Thank you for those 2 questions. Okay, next up, each got like 1 minute. Go.
Just wanted to ask real quick, do you have any pieces of advice for any newcomers to any of your lines of work, such as artists, authors, actors, etc.?
I have a graphic novel that I just did, and it's very intimidating, and I was, it came from a dream that my son came up with, and I ran with it. It's called Dream Jumper, and I was in the same situation. I think just do it. And this is something that JJ's always told me, which is the excitement that you have to tell that story, whether it's through a phone call, to a friend, or whatever, that excitement, that energy will carry you to actually do it. So save it. Don't give it up. Don't, because I'll say, oh, JJ, I have a great idea for something. He's like, write it. And I'm like, well, it may be terrible. I don't, write it. If you're excited about it, write it, get it out, do it. So don't let anybody tell you any different. Just do it, because that's the hardest part, is doing that. Or, hook up with an incredible illustrator, because I don't draw. So, one of the two. Find somebody creative that you can partner with.
Very true. Don't ask for permission from your relative, just do it. Okay, next.
All right, for all of you guys, really. Since I can tell you're all Star Wars fans. Favorite Star Wars media? You guys heard the question, right? Okay. Favorite Star Wars media? Anything, can be movies, video games, toilet paper, whatever. Favorite Star Wars character from said media?
Okay, boy.
Always Chewbacca the Wookiee. I don't know why, but just since the first time I ever saw him, I just thought this is a cool character.
Okay. Joe.
For me, Star Wars begins and ends with the film franchise. So as much as I love the comics and I love the video games, you can always find me on Star Wars Battlefront sometimes with this guy over here. I love the movies, and Darth Vader is my favorite character because he's the core of the saga. It's all about him.
Matt?
For me, I've always been Luke Skywalker as my hero. So it's always been Luke. But for right now, I am a huge, gigantic Dr. Aphra fan. For the comics, she is the coolest. So I'm giving her props.
Security? That guy there. Okay. Tim Zahn. Go.
Favorite movie, Empire Strikes Back. Favorite character, someplace between Han Solo and young Obi-Wan.
Nice.
And for me, as much as I want to say Snap Wexley, it's just not the case. The movies, for sure, and Han Solo, hands down, for me.
That's nice. I didn't get mine. Jesus. Okay.
I'm sorry, man.
Empire, and Vader. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next.
Hi. Also, I loved you in Heroes. I just rewatched it, and
Thank
Matt
you.
Hardy was like my fave. So, but I was just gonna ask. I was gonna ask who your favorite character was, but what's your favorite thing about Star Wars? So, like working with Star Wars, or thing about the movies, anything like that for everybody, I guess.
My favorite thing is the family dynamic that this. For me, it doesn't matter what you're watching. As long as the characters are engaging and identifiable, and you want to spend time with them. This, more than anything else, has just gripped me like nothing else. And so, for me, that's what I gravitate towards, and I think most people do. It's like, who's related to who and all of that. Look at the world that they created, and yet we're asking such a simple question, So that to me, the characters, how beautiful that they're portrayed and written and crafted. And I thought JJ did an amazing job bringing the franchise back in that way. And also the humor. I mean, we start the movie off, episode 7, with humor. Do I talk, you talk, what's happening, what's the deal? I mean, like, already I'm laughing. And that makes it relatable and makes it, brings you in, sucks you in. So that's my favorite aspect of it.
Timothy Zahn.
I think what George really hit with me was the lived-in look of the universe. Everything is a little scruffy, worn down, comes apart, maybe goes back together, maybe doesn't go back together correctly. It just was a far cry from my earlier science fiction standard of Star Trek, where everything was right out of the box. Nothing is right out of the box in Star Wars.
Matt Hoffman.
For me, since I'm sort of in the trenches, I guess, being playing plastic spaceman on the weekends, for me, it's making little kids smile. We do a lot of children's stuff. We go to hospitals and do that sort of thing. So that's why I do this.
Good answer. Joe Corroney.
Okay. I think for me, one of my favorite aspects of working on Star Wars is working with the other talented creators, writers like Tim or Roy, some of the other artists and creators that we work and collaborate to to expand the universe beyond the films. And then the other part of that is my other favorite aspect is I get to be a big kid every day working on Star Wars. I mean, Star Wars is the reason I do what I do for a living, and every day I'm still that 4 or 5-year-old kid getting to work on this stuff.
Nice. Mr. Roy Thomas.
Well, Star Wars made a different kind of movie possible that really hadn't been possible before, which led very quickly to Superman and the superhero movies, eventually over, starting in the last decade or two, to the Marvel movies. And so I'm really happy to have that universe and that bunch of movies to go to. And since Marvel does pay residuals, it's making my old age a lot happier.
Thank you very much. And the final question is, sir.
If it were up to you, if it were up to each of you to do a good green light on a story, on a movie based on Obi-Wan's father, would you do it in the future today?
I'll start because I have no idea what the hell you're talking about.
That was going to be my answer.
So, okay, let's go through that one more time.
If you could greenlight a Star Wars movie and it was about Obi-Wan's father, would you do it in the future today?
I do it in the future today. Yeah, I mean, if I was working on, I want to see stories about Obi-Wan's father. I want to see, you know,
long lost adopted son.
Yeah,
Obi-Wan.
Yes. The spin-off Obi-Wan film. So yeah, I mean, if there's a story there to tell, if there's something exciting, I think that's what all of this begins with these characters. If there's potential for something to be told that's exciting to fans, that can get the creators, you know, jazzed. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, if it was a story like about, like giving, if the Jedi Council came to find Obi-Wan, finding out that he had his midi-chlorian count was high or whatever, and had to take him away from his parents. Sure, that'd be pretty cool. Be a pretty telling story. You wanted a family story, there you go.
Yeah. All right, we've come to that time. We want to thank all the fans for being here and also all the talented individuals here for their time, their insight, and for their humor. Big round of applause for Timothy Zahn, Matthew Hoffman, Joe Corroney, and Roy Thomas. Thank you, everybody. We'll be at our tables. Come by and say hi. Thanks.
Everyone.
Have you seen Rick